we go to our Xfinity Third Chair. Time for some fan-submitted questions presented by Xfinity. And let's start with the number one team in the country. First question is Oregon's resume the best in college football? You know, their two main wins, obviously Ohio State, number 2 at the time, and Boise State now ranked up at 17. And that was not a simple game for them. They needed a game-winning kick from Atticus Sappington to get it done. I'm curious your take on this. My answer would probably be no, but they're in the conversation certainly, and there's a reason they're number one in the country.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still think it's kind of early. I have no problem with them being number one. You know, they're undefeated. The win against Ohio State was impressive over the number 2 team in the country. You know, I think the most impressive win of the season so far was Georgia going into Austin and winning the way they did against the Longhorns, because it was the road team that won, right? But they've got one loss. So yeah, I think that it makes sense right now where they are, and being ranked number 1, I think the resume is strong. They aren't going to have another test like that, you know, the rest of the way out, other than this Illinois game. This will be the last ranked team, at least right now, on their schedule. So, but there's a lot of football left to be played.
No question about it. Our second question, and this is something that you brought up, so you kind of already answered it, but we can go deeper. Is Indiana a legit championship contender? And the way I see that is Big Ten championship and college football playoff.
I think it's all on the table for them right now. I really do, based on the way they've played. I think that, you know, for a few weeks, you're just sitting there watching them. And we had them in week 3 against UCLA, and we were impressed, right? But you sit there and you keep watching, okay, sooner or later, they're going to look like what Indiana has kind of always looked like, right? Sooner or later, they're going to not blow somebody out. They're not going to look the way they've looked, but that's not been the case. And then everybody said going into this week, okay, now they're playing a legit team, a really good defensive football team in Nebraska. You know, can they still perform offensively like they've been? And they did, you know, they did. And not only did they do it, but Rourke didn't play the whole second half. And so Taven Jackson came in and only missed 1 pass, threw a touchdown, played very well coming off the bench. So this is a team that's extremely well coached. They execute. They do a lot of really cool things on offense, and they play with great confidence and swagger, and they kind of embody the personality of their head coach. And so, yeah, I think that they can, you know, I don't know if they have man for man the kind of roster that Ohio State or Oregon has, but shoot, they won't be afraid to line up and play. I'll put it that way.
No, they are. If they embody their coach, they are a bunch of football guys. It's 100+ football guys on that roster that are just ready to go out there and play ball at a very high level. And they're playing together right now. You can submit questions. Go for it.
I just want to say one of the other things and we talked about it when we did their game in week 3. And I think that it's getting brought up again. And I think rightfully so. Football players are football players. Good football players are good football players, no matter where you find them, right? So 13 guys came with Coach Cignetti from James Madison. And there was a lot of skepticism, probably even in Bloomington, you know, well, those guys played in whatever league that was that they played in, the Sun Belt. You know, certainly they can't be the same kind of player in the Big Ten, can they? All those guys are playing at the exact same level that they played at James Madison. Curtis Rourke was in the MAC playing for Ohio U, playing at a high level, right? All those guys that came from James Madison are not only starters and significant players, almost all of them, but they are playing at like all conference type level, you know, whether it's Surratt, the wide receiver, whether it's Justice Ellison, the running back, whether it's Aiden Fisher, the linebacker. You know, it doesn't matter. They're all playing at an extremely high level of Big Ten football. And I just think that's super cool because they are proving that they can be good football players anywhere.
It sets the tone then for guys now transferring moving forward. They might get that second look from that major program that they wouldn't have maybe in years past. And we're seeing that across a lot of college football. I mean, Tez Johnson was at Troy a couple of years ago, and here he is in the huge moments for Oregon, and he's got a 5-star recruit on the other side in Evan Stewart, and they work perfectly together. So it is a good example. Anyway, you can submit questions to the show every week by using the hashtag Big Talk.